There's a moment, and maybe you know it, when you cancel plans you were actually looking forward to, and instead of guilt, what you feel first is relief. A quiet, almost embarrassing exhale. Like something tight in your chest just let go. You pour something warm, you sit somewhere comfortable, and the evening opens up in a way it never quite does when you're out in the middle of it all. Nobody sees this version of you, but this version feels the most like you. Most people would call that introversion. Antisocial if they're being less kind. Homebody if they're being affectionate but still slightly dismissive. Society has a way of turning this into a personality quirk at best, a social deficit at worst. The implication is always the same, that you're missing out, that you're afraid, that someday you'll grow out of it. But that framing misses something fundamental. And what it misses is actually more interesting than the label it replaces. What's really happening when you feel most yourself inside your own four walls isn't shyness. It isn't fear. It's something neurological. Something that was shaped long before you ever made a conscious choice about how to spend a Friday night. Research on the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that regulates arousal and alertness, suggests that people genuinely differ in how much external stimulation they need to feel comfortable. Some nervous systems arrive at their baseline with very little input from the outside world. Others need constant novelty, sound, social contact just to feel awake. Neither is broken. They are simply calibrated differently. And if your nervous system reaches its optimal state in a quiet room, then seeking that quiet room isn't avoidance. It's regulation. Your brain knows what it needs and it's asking for it. Psychologist Elaine Aron's research on high sensory processing sensitivity found that a significant portion of the population, roughly 15 to 20%, processes the world more deeply than the average person. Not more anxiously, more thoroughly, noticing more, feeling more, absorbing more of what most people filter out automatically. And often, this didn't start as a preference. It started as adaptation. Think back, not necessarily to trauma, but to environment. Maybe you were the kid who needed to watch a room before entering it. Maybe the world outside always felt slightly too fast, slightly too much, and home was the one place where the speed matched something inside you. Your nervous system learned. This is where I can breathe. And it remembered. This is worth sitting with because it changes the story. It stops being about what you're avoiding and starts being about what you're protecting. There's a difference between hiding from life and curating the conditions where you can actually live it. One is contraction. The other is clarity. And here's the part that rarely gets said out loud. People who feel most at home often have an extraordinarily rich inner world. The same sensitivity that makes a crowded room exhausting makes a quiet afternoon remarkable. The same nervous system that needs less from outside tends to generate more from within, more observation, more reflection, more of what gets turned into art, into writing, into the kind of conversations that go somewhere real. For a nervous system like that, the outside world isn't just louder, costs more. And the quiet room isn't empty, it's where the refilling happens. The cost and the gift are the same mechanism. That doesn't make this lifestyle better. It makes it different. The person who genuinely thrives in constant social stimulation isn't wrong either. Their nervous system is simply asking for something different. There's no hierarchy here, even though culture tends to build one. But if you've spent years wondering whether something was off about you, this is worth knowing. You are not underdeveloped. You are not withholding. You are not waiting to become someone who prefers otherwise. The question you've been carrying, why you are the way you are, isn't a problem waiting to be solved. It's an answer waiting to be understood. You are someone whose inner life is loud enough that the outside world doesn't need to be. That's not a flaw that needs softening. It's a way of being that deserves to be understood on its own terms. The words that used to land, "You're too quiet, you're missing out, you'll change," they were never really about you. They were about a world that only learned one way to measure aliveness. Your way of being alive is quieter. And quieter doesn't mean less. And there's something else, something connected to this, something about how people wired this way tend to love, tend to think, tend to move through the world, that explains even more about why you are the way you are. If any of this felt familiar, that next piece might be the one that finally makes everything make sense.